I want to talk to you about some of the things that I've noticed over in the Korean marketplace, because I think it's very important to give you some of those thoughts and ideals that the leadership is doing over there to create those types of numbers within a 5-year window of time. But I got to tell you that sometimes our experience can cloud our vision. How many of you would agree with that? Sometimes when you go through experience, you tend to see things only as they are today and not what the possibilities of what could be. And I looked at what was going on with the Korean leadership, and you know, they have possibility thinking because they are new to the game. A lot of them have just been involved in ACM for 2 years or 3 years, and they're regional vice presidents, senior vice presidents of ACM because of all the momentum that has been generated. And their vision hasn't been clouded because they continue to see beyond what is. And that's what I want to bring to you today. Because playing it safe is not good for you to excel and do anything significant in your ACM business, which is sometimes something that happens when you think about all the experiences that you have. Then you start to kind of cower a little bit and shrivel back up and stop dreaming about what the possibilities are. You know, I'm not very good in the water. In fact, even though I live on a lake, I didn't grow up learning how to swim very well, or in fact, I am the family joke around the pool. I'm the family joke around the lake. In fact, we have a family picture that we were in Aruba one year, and me, my wife Sherry, and Autumn, Manny, and Marina, we were going to go on this scuba diving excursion, and we were on this huge sailboat, and we took a family photo, and Sherry and I are the only 2 people on the ship with swim rings. Can you imagine? I wish I would have brought the photo to show you. It's so funny to see. Our 3 kids are ready to go. They got their goggles on. They can go anywhere. And Sherry and I got the swim rings on. One time I went scuba diving. And I forget when that was, but I ended up taking we were on you know what? We were on an RVP trip. And I took a class in the resort swimming pool, and they taught me how to breathe. And the first time I went down in the pool, I'll never forget, man, I was breathing so quick. The guy says, just slow down already. But I went down, and I went down for 30 feet. But I was so afraid because I didn't know, I was just equating all the water experiences that I had, that I didn't get to enjoy that dive, because the only thing that I did for the entire length of that dive was watch where that rope was to the anchor on the boat that was above on the surface of the water. Everybody else was swimming and enjoying and going through and having a great time, but not Greg. Greg did nothing more than stay about 10 feet away from that rope, and as soon as the current started to drift me off away from that rope, I scurried back and got real close, and I never got the full experience of that dive just because of the paradigm that I had in my mind about my inability to operate efficiently in the water. Does that make sense to you? I think some of that same thing happens with leaders that evaluate their experiences in light of the people that didn't make it. Do you evaluate your experience in light of the lack of success that you may have? Or maybe you thought you wanted to be further along than you are today. But let me tell you this, we may not be where we want to be, but man, we are so far from where we came from, yes? We've made a lot of progress. All of you have made a lot of progress with where you're at, and in relation to where you want to go. There's a lot more way to go, but you got to have the right vision, you got to have the right mindset in order to do that. So how do you encourage yourselves? How do you encourage yourselves along the way? What do you say when you talk to yourself? That's a good question to ask. What do you say when you talk to yourself? What kind of conversations are you having with yourself? Because your life will follow the conversations that you have with yourself. Your life will follow the conversations that you have with yourself. I believe that we spend too much time listening to ourselves and not enough time talking to ourselves. I believe that with everything that's in me. Sometimes you listen to that little small voice, and a little small voice says, "What do you think that you're doing? Who do you think you are? Nobody before you has done anything significant. What makes you so special? Why do you think that you can win when everybody else around you has never won? Why do you think that you're going to make it?" Instead of having real conversations and telling yourself about where you're going to go and what you're going to do and how you're going to do it and when you're going to do it. Those are the things, those are the conversations that we need to have. And so I want to bring to you today what I believe that the Korean leadership are doing and what they're thinking about and what conversations are they having with themselves in order to get the results that they're getting in Korea. Are you ready? I took a little different tact with what I'm going to teach you about today, and I want to go not from the proactive perspective. I want to go from maybe a reactive perspective. I want to go from maybe not going from the positive side, but maybe the negative side, because I think that you not only can learn what to do, but I think you can learn how to be successful with what not to do. Would you agree with that? That is so true in my life. I didn't have any mentors growing up. Everything that the Lord has allowed me to have happen in my life has happened because I learned more of what not to do than to do. And when you learn what not to do, you just avoid those things. And then if you avoid those things, there's a good chance that you'll increase your odds of winning by not doing those things that you learn not to do. It's very simple. So if you take a look at general society today, most people don't win, correct? Most people are not wealthy, correct? Most people don't have lifestyle, correct? So if you just do the opposite of what most other people are doing, there's a great chance that you'll win. So if you look at what they're reading, don't read it. You hear what they're listening to, don't listen to it. You hear the influences, you see the influences that they have in their lives, don't follow those same influences. So I want to talk to you first about what not to do, or the disease. But then I want to talk to you about the antidote. I want to tell you what the Koreans are doing so that you can have the same type of success and momentum that they're experiencing. Are you ready? All right, here we go. Here's the first thing. There's 5 ways to destroy your business. Ready? Number 1, become power hungry. Become power hungry. Some people in leadership roles, when they get in a leadership position, this may be the very first time that you have had anybody follow you to where you're at. It may be the very first experience that you have in dealing with people, and all these people have a great deal of respect for you, so they edify you, and they talk highly of you, and they edify you in front of all their people, and now all their people are edifying you, and sometimes that can become addictive. I'm telling you that is so dangerous for you to think that you are all that. It is so dangerous, folks. See, real leaders don't seek power, they seek to empower people. They don't seek the limelight for themselves. They seek success for who? for others. Now, how many of you know that already? This is not a big revelation to you. You already know probably all 5 things that I'm going to cover. This is a great check and balance of where your heart really is. See, I think that in life, it's not what you do necessarily, but it's also the motives behind what you do that matter the most. See, if you have the wrong motives in doing the right things, I don't think that you're going to be blessed. If you have the right motives in doing the right things, I think you can have exponential success. So it's all about your heart. It's all about your motives. So what is the antidote for becoming power hungry? What do the Koreans have to generate the momentum that they have today? What is their mindset? Here it is they're team-minded. They're team-minded. If you talk to the Circle of Champions over in Korea, and you ask any of them, in fact, if you asked any one of their leaders, because they've instilled this mindset in all the leadership throughout all of Korea. If you ask them what the number one goal is for ACN in Korea, you know what they will say? They will say to have ACN be the number one network marketing company in all of Korea. That's their goal. That's their goal. And so if that's everybody's goal, then everybody is pulling for everybody else. Does that make sense to you? So they're not seeking power, they're looking for a higher purpose. And when you reach for a higher purpose, there's a greater chance that you're going to have everything that you ever wanted to get out of the ACN experience that you're having right now. So number 1, becoming power hungry is a disease. The antidote is team-minded. The second disease that some people follow into is that they become prideful. And how many of you know that pride comes before a fall? How do you become prideful? You start believing your own press. You start really believing that you're the greatest because people continue to tell you that you're the greatest. Can I tell you something? One of the greatest things that I've noticed about ACN, about most of our leaders, and I can tell you about all the co-founders actually, is that we have never got caught up with all this stuff. We never got caught up with all the success. We never got caught up with all the recognition. We never get caught up with who people say that we are. And I think there's great value in that. I think there's great value in making sure that you don't become prideful in what you're doing, because there is a principle. Not just a principle in ACN, but there is a life principle that says when you become prideful, it is just before you take a downturn in your life. So why would you ever entertain becoming prideful? So real leaders don't seek position, they seek to reposition people's lives. That is their focus. They're not thinking about themselves having a position or being in a position to be edified constantly. They're looking to reposition other people's lives. And real leaders don't have a desire for greatness. They desire to make other people great. That's what they have going on in Korea. So what's the antidote for becoming prideful? Just be humble. Just be humble. I'm not saying be a doormat. I'm just saying be humble. Be humble. Think of other people first. Put other people first. Have the right motive behind what you do. There's a big difference, folks, between motivating somebody for their purpose or for your purposes. And the end result that you get will be determined by the motive that you have in motivating these people. So the third disease that I want to talk to you about, that some leaders get involved with, some people call it politics, I call it becoming a gossip. Becoming a gossip. See, there's a rule in leadership. This is like leadership 101. The rule in leadership says positives down and around and negatives up. Positives down and around and negatives up. See, it doesn't do any good if you're having a bad day for you to call somebody in your organization to tell them that you are having a bad day. If you allow any crack in your armor with your people, if you have those types of conversations with your people, you are giving them that little crack, that little wedge that they're always looking for every single day. And here's what they're saying. Man, if they are having a bad day, if they think that they can't do it today, what makes me think that I can do it? Now they got the justification for not doing something that they ultimately want to do. They have the justification for them not doing something that you ultimately want them to do. So bottom line is you got to be a bridge builder versus a wall builder. You have to make sure that you're having uplifting conversations. Make sure that you want the best out of people. Make sure that you're creating an unlimited resource of encouragement to your people, regardless of what they're doing or not doing. Some people in this room have an attitude that says, I'm only going to talk to you if you've done something last week. That's not the case. I'm going to be a lifter of people. I'm going to be a lid lifter. I'm going to be an encourager. Don't be a gossip. Don't talk about little nitpicky things, creating politics amongst each other. It doesn't work that way. Do you know what the Koreans have? The Koreans have what I call salt and light as the antidote. They are salt and light to their people. They're like an oasis in the desert to their people. When I notice when their people get around them, even though I didn't understand the language, I can definitely understand the body language. I saw nothing but excitement to be around the leaders. You know, the greatest asset the leader has, the greatest asset that you can have as a leader is to make people feel better about themselves when they're around you than when they're not. That's the greatest asset that you have. That's the greatest ability that you can, the greatest skill that you can sharpen for your people is to make them feel good, make them feel special, make them feel important. Act like they got a flashing light in their chest that says, please make me feel good. And that's your role, that's your responsibility to do just that. So don't be a gossip. Be salt and light to people. The fourth disease that I think that some people can adopt along the way is that they become cliquish or not welcoming. Cliquish or not welcoming. And I believe that's because they have a scarcity mentality versus an abundance mentality. When you become cliquish and you kind of put your fence around and you don't allow anybody else in besides your group or your organization or people that you associate with, you are closing off the abundance that can be coming your way. You've got to welcome everyone. Otherwise, you're going to stagnate and die. There are two seas in Israel. One is the Sea of Galilee, and the other is what? The Dead Sea. The Sea of Galilee is fed by the mountains of the Golan Heights. That's where the Sea of Galilee is fed. And the Sea of Galilee gets its water from that source, and it flows into the Sea of Galilee, and then it flows into the River Jordan. So it has constant flow. It's teeming with life. It has all kinds of species of life in the Sea of Galilee. But the River Jordan flows into the Dead Sea. And the name speaks for itself. You know why it's dead? Because it has no outlet to give. It only receives. And when you receive without giving, if you don't have a free-flowing spirit, if you don't have this flow of life going through you, you will shrivel up and die. And I believe it has to do with not being very welcoming to everyone. Where everyone is playing team, just like I said, the Koreans. Everyone wins. Everyone comes in. Everyone is welcome. Everyone you motivate. Why? Because they're part of the ACN family. Does that make sense to you? So what's the antidote? The antidote is be welcoming. Just be welcoming to everybody. You have to create an environment of positivity. You must create an environment of being excited. Your people, your guests, they ought to want to they can't wait to get into the environment that you create because it's so welcoming and so encouraging. Do you know that if somebody walks into your training, whatever day you have your training, and you just look them in the eye and you shake their hands and you say, man, it's so good to see you, regardless of what they did, do you understand that may be the very first positive thing that they've heard all week long? Do you think they want to come back to that environment? No question about it. They want to come back because you made them feel great. And if you make people feel great, eventually they will do great because they'll stick around long enough to figure it out. Here's the fifth and final disease that I see some leaders develop that I believe that the Koreans have mastered over there, which is the reason why that they're having the momentum that they have. The fifth disease is divisiveness. And divisiveness is nothing more than toxic leadership. It creates internal conflict. And the bottom line is, here's the reality of the reason why people have this divisiveness thing going on. Is because you're so frustrated with yourselves, and the only place you take it out is on other people. See, there's a mindset that says nobody wants another job. They already have one that they don't like. They didn't come to ACN for another employer to treat them like their existing employer is treating them. There's no place to be divisive. The only thing that we can do is encourage. And there's two tools that you can use when you're thinking about your people, or you're looking at your people and you're saying to yourself, why aren't they doing what they should be doing? Why don't we have the numbers? Why don't we have recruiting going on? Why are we acquiring all these customers? Why? And you're looking at everybody else as to why they're not doing what you think they should be doing. I'm telling you, you're using the wrong tool. You're using a magnifying glass. And you're trying to find why your people are not doing what they're doing. You know, there's a verse in the Bible that says, why are you looking at the speck in your brother's eye when you're walking around with a plank in your own eye? Why are you looking at what other people are not doing and not looking at yourself? So I would encourage you, instead of using a magnifying glass, why don't you pull out a mirror? And why don't you look at yourselves and say, okay, I'm not going to be frustrated with everybody else. I realize that I'm frustrated with myself. And because I'm frustrated with myself, I'm taking it out on everybody else. I have to check myself. I have to check and see what am I not doing? What am I not communicating? See, that's how we operate the company, folks. You understand it in any business, in life in general. Are there ups and downs, yes or no? Good seasons and bad seasons, yes? Good times, bad times. When the times are good, man, we give everybody else the credit. We edify people. We highlight people. When momentum is down, guess what? We don't look at all of our leaders and say, what are you guys not doing? Are you lazy or something? No. We never do that. You ask a Circle of Champions. Ask any Circle of Champions member. We never had one Circle of Champions meeting in our company's history. Not one. That pointed the finger at them and said, you guys aren't working hard enough. See, when things are leveled out for the company, we don't use a magnifying glass. We use a mirror. And we ask ourselves, what are we not doing the best at? What are we not communicating effectively? Well, how can we get better? What can we do? How can we modify some things? How can we change some things over here? Remember our motto, finish never is? That's where it comes from. We look in the mirror and see what we can do better. I would encourage you all to do the very same thing. Use a mirror instead of a magnifying glass. And the antidote is to be a unifier. All for one and one for all. And that's the message that the Koreans gave me when I was there at that event for that leadership training on Friday. It was one of the most incredible experiences that I've had, and I thought that it would be fruitful for you to hear some of the things that I noticed that's going on over there, and I wanted to bring it to you so that this can be a check and balance system for you.